it's interesting as an English teacher to see in different countries there are different common pronunciation issues. We're going to talk about some common words that are mispronounced. But I don't want you to take mispronounced to mean incorrect, as though there is only one way to say it. It's actually not that simple. There isn't only one way to say every single word. Sometimes it's pronounced slightly differently by different people. However, we can say there are generally natural ways to say words, for example, and ways that don't sound natural. And this might be the difference between making you sound more like a native English speaker or not. But again, that doesn't mean there's only one. And that doesn't mean I'm here to say, okay, now let me tell you the one correct way to say this word, and this is the final answer, and then you can forget about it forevermore. Well, pronunciation changes over time, okay? So we're just going to explore a few of the common things that I see many English learners get wrong about pronunciation, okay? And I'm just calling them pronunciation mistakes because, to be totally honest with you, I don't know what other word to use, right? I want to say things that sound unnatural, let's say that. And we're going to start with a really common word that I'm sure you know. It's an adjective. Now, I want you to think to yourself or just whisper to yourself how you say this word. How did that sound? Sound good? Sound natural? The difficulty with this one is that when you try to learn the correct pronunciation, you might get a couple different answers. Sometimes we emphasize this too much, and I'm telling you the common issues that I hear first, so that it's comfortable, and each sound is enunciated too clearly. Not good. Sounds weird, sounds kind of robotic. Not good. Sometimes I hear just comfortable, like come and then fta, whatever that is, fta-bull. Again, it's getting closer, but also doesn't sound natural. There are actually two ways to say this so that it will sound natural. Some people will go for the full syllable here, and they'll say comfortable. Comfortable. Now notice I'm not enunciating each vowel very, very clearly. I'm not saying table in the way that I would say the word table. I'm saying t. It's a little t sound, t-bull. That's called, by the way, the schwa sound. Something that's covered in my pronunciation course. You can learn more about that. It's an unstressed syllable vowel sound. So that's the first thing. Now, this first pronunciation I mentioned that's correct has this or here, right? Come for. But it doesn't quite sound like the or sound in the word like for. We're clearly enunciating that or sound. Well, instead it's going to be more like fur. It's a little less stressed. There's a little less emphasis there. So comfortable. Now, the next thing that happens is often this T sound will become what I will call a light D sound, also something that I cover more in depth in my pronunciation course. The light D is not a t, but a da. So instead of comfortable, you'll often hear comfortable, double, comfortable. It's a very quick light D sound, okay? Comfortable. Okay. Now, then you get into a different pronunciation, which is totally different, which is common, so I have to say, okay, it's natural. And that is for people to say comfortable. Now, if that's harder for you to say, go with this one, because this one is technically more correct, the comfortable with the light D sound. And that's the one I like to use. But you often hear this come, and then this is completely removed, and you just have fter, and then you have a fter, comfortable. Comf. You have to do that comf sound. This is a native pronunciation. Comfortable. Comforter. Now there, I do say the T sound, okay? So you can either say comfortable with the light D or say comfortable, whatever is more comfortable for you. Some people find this syllable easier to just remove. Okay, so those are some common ways to say. Also, I can say correct, natural ways to say that very common word. Let's move on to this one. Now, it's often abbreviated just as FEB, right? FEBRUARY. Now, people will say this as something like, this is not a correct way to say this, February or February, right? And it's understandable because it's a weird word, right? Especially this sound right here. What's going on here? What is that, right? So this is an understandably difficult word to say. There are two common ways to pronounce this one. One is to make sure to say the R sound clearly, and the other is to kind of make this a or sound, a very sort of mushy sound. So you could say February, Feb-ru-airy. Now notice that's clearly differentiating these two. Feb, clearly, ru-air-e. February. Okay, fine. Correct. Good. Great. However, a lot of people feel uncomfortable with this R here and will just skip it. And when they do that, this part becomes a little kind of mushier. So it becomes instead something like February, February, February. And sometimes you'll hear February. So February or February. Now notice if I say that February, and this is most common in the Midwest where I come from, that's more like a Feb, and that's kind of one sound, and then the E, February, February. So February, 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 all I would say fairly natural, all ways that I hear people, native English speakers, again, say this kind of weird word. But February? No, definitely not. Absolutely not. I didn't put library here, but if I had, well, now I am talking about it. I was going to add it to my list, but I thought it would be one that most people know. You don't pronounce it library, okay? It's library. So you have that weird R again, Library. For February, which is actually my daily pronunciation of that word, is February. I skip the R. I just do. It's too hard to make every time. But then this one, you have to do the R every time. A little kid will say library. Go to the library. Library. I one time talked to a student who had a very unique accent who said this word. It was a specific dialect of Chinese, not I guess Mandarin. I think he spoke another dialect, and he pronounced this word Zybazezi. Zybazezi. That was it stuck in my brain, that pronunciation. Zybazezi. Well, that's not correct. Okay. So this one has to have this R. Library. Brer, and then the brer is sort of like, I guess that'd be an I there, but brer, brer, and then the E like that. That would be the correct natural sounding pronunciation of that word that I wasn't going to include, that I guess I just did include. All right, let's move on. Now, I talked about this one previously, but I will just quickly mention it because it's such a common one. When we get down to the TH sounds, people get confused with these, right? CLOTHES. Do I need to say clothes clothes. Well, if you're going to say it correctly, then you do have that correctly. Then you do have that clothes. There's the th and then the z. However, I would guess if you were to go around to 98.4% of native English speakers, they would not be saying clothes. They would be saying C-L-O-S-E, clothes. 98.4% of native English speakers just say the word C-L-O-S-E, clothes. But that's misleading because then you say, oh, well, anytime I have TH and then S where it's hard, I don't have to do the thing. I can just replace it with an easier sound like Z. Not true. Not true. In words like M-O-N-T-H-S, in words like S-I-X-T-H-S, these words, I'm sorry, but you've got to say the TH and then the S. So this one is months. Months. And if you say months, like M-U-N-T-S, people might look at you strange. What? Months? What's a months? I know someone named Months. No. Months. And the tongue does come out there between the teeth. Months. Like that. It's got to be there. You can hear the difference between that and months. This one may be even more difficult because you have that sound, which is crazy. 6. So that ends with the S sound. So we're going to go at the end of the X is sort of like, imagine saying S-I-C-K-S, right? And then you have a TH in the middle and then another S. So you have to go from S to S. So you're going from S to TH to S. 6. That's which is correct. It's the right pronunciation. And this is a very tricky one for obviously for most English learners because it's such a weird sound. 6. When I think about it, it's hard for me too. 26 and 2/6. It hurts my mouth to say. I don't like it. I hate it. Anyway, that's just to show you that you can't always cancel the TH sound whenever you see it in a word. In fact, most of the time, you cannot. That's right. Most of the time, you cannot. Okay. One of my favorite words to talk about, U-S-U-A-L-L-Y. Okay. Now, there are different mispronunciations of this, maybe urally or usali or usually or something like that. All incorrect, all not natural. Okay, 2 natural ways to say this. One is a 3 and one is a 4 syllable sound. Both are correct, both sound natural. But the key thing is to get this sound correct, which is when you add SH to your voice. So that would be shh, and then your voice. So just do those two together. Zzz. How do you do that? SH, shh, plus your voice. Zzz. Now, if it's just your voice, then it will sound like, was wrong. If it's no voice, then it will sound like, shh, just like SH. So those two have to be together. Zzz. And it can't be very sharp or else it's going to sound like J if it's too sharp. No, that's wrong. Okay. So this one is pronounced like Y-O-U. First part, and then you can pronounce it ja. I'll just write it S-H-A, even though that's not right. Ja, and then li. Usually. And this is confusing because actually it's not the S-H by itself. It's zh. Okay. Now, the way that I typically say it is 4 syllables, so that's also you, and then I don't know what else to write here. So S-H-U, and then or either one, and then li. Usually. Now that's a very light vowel syllable there. Usually. Usually, okay? So you got to practice that one. If you have trouble with it, just practice it and make sure it sounds right before you turn it into a habit. That would be bad. Okay, we have two more I want to cover quickly. S-U-I-T-E. Now, the reason that I write this one down is actually it's not hard to say. It's that the spelling makes it confusing because you may know S-U-I-T and you'll say, oh, I know how to say that. That's suit, like S-O-O-T, which is not a word. Suit, right? Yeah, that's the correct pronunciation of this word, but that's not the correct pronunciation of this word. Actually, the pronunciation itself, so this is often pronounced as suit. Do you want to suit something? Actually, the correct pronunciation is exactly the same as S-W-E-E-T. So just pronounce it sweet, 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 sweet. Now, it does get a little more complicated if you add an S, not because this part is harder, but just because the T and the S together can be a little bit difficult. So sweets, sweets. Okay, just add an S. And then suits, suits. Now, the biggest problem with that one, not that this is a word we're focusing on, but often saying something like sus, which would be incorrect. You got to make sure that it's a little T sound that makes it kind of like you're hitting a cymbal. That sort of hard sound. If it's sus, doesn't have that there. Suits. Those are just a few common words that are often mispronounced by English learners. Note there that it wasn't a matter of me saying, okay, here is the pronunciation for all of them. For some of them, like February, that's a little fuzzier. So we're not trying to get at correct all the time, the one pronunciation. People say things a lot of different ways. What we're trying to get at is natural. What's natural? What sounds right? What sounds more native, we could say? What does native English sound like? And that's really a little more complicated than just learning one thing, but it really takes using your ears, developing self-awareness, and then trying to use what you learn, as often as possible.